podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, February 1st, 2020. Yes, this is episode 1665. Enjoy. The Tech Guy comes to you from the Twit LastPass studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by CashFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with CashFly's CDN, Content Delivery Network, and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, it's time to talk computers. Computers. What an old-fashioned term. The internet, that's going to be an old-fashioned term any day now, too. Home theater, home theater, that really is old-fashioned. Digital photography, yeah. We don't even think of it anymore as digital photography, just, Instagram. Smartphones, well, we all got one of them, mostly. Smart watches, no, not many. That's anything with a chip in it. We talk about technology here on the show for the next couple of hours. At 8888 Ask Leo, I invite you to call and ask a question, make a suggestion, make a comment. 888-827-5536. That's toll-free anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You can still call via Skype out or something like that from anywhere else in the world. It should be free. 8888 Ask Leo. There is a website. We write everything down. I write nothing down. James DeRuvo is doing all the work. He puts it up there. We add audio and video after the fact. It's got the theory of the website, and I think we're pretty close to living up to the theory, is everything you hear on the show will be there. So you don't have to write it down. That's the idea, right? And it's free. There's no sign up. I don't make you do anything. You just go there and look at it. TechGuyLabs.com. I'm the Tech Guy. That's my lab, okay? There's two of them. TechGuyLabs.com. And there you have it. There's the story, Morning Glory. That's the entire thing right there in a nutshell. So what happened this week in tech news? Lots. I know the only one you really care about, and we'll talk about that with Scott Wilkinson about half an hour from now, is Fox is back on Roku. Oh, thank goodness. Roku, one of the high-end Rokus, one of the 4K Rokus, one of the few ways you could watch the Super Bowl. 4K high dynamic range tomorrow. And that's the way I was going to do it. You could do it on an Apple TV, but it won't be high dynamic range, weirdly enough. You could do it on a Fire TV if it's an UHD TV, HDR TV device. The Cube is, a number of the Fire TV sticks are. There are other devices you can as well, but the real one, I think the big one, was the Roku, and a lot of people were upset because Roku announced we're removing all the Fox apps from the Roku, except for Fox Sports Go, from the Roku, because our contract ran out midnight, January 31st. Frantic negotiations ensued, I'm imagining. I have no idea. Could be everybody just sat back and waited. I don't know. And then Fox said, we're pleased to have reached a successful agreement with Roku. Thank goodness. It feels a little bit like, I don't know what happened. It could be just coinkydink. But it feels a little bit like, that big game you were going to have on Sunday? Not going to do it on our platform. We're better to make that argument. What better time to do that? If you have a Roku Premier, Premier Plus, Streaming Stick Plus, or Roku Ultra, and obviously a 4K TV that does HDR, you'll be able to watch the big game. It's not going to be shot that way, by the way. The cameras will be 1080p. Let's not go crazy. The cameras will just be 1080p. But they will be 60 frames a second, and that actually may be more important. That and high dynamic range probably means more than how many dots are on the screen. Here's a handy little website I just found this week, discprices.com. They hard drives, SSDs, all kinds of drives with the links, and the price per gigabyte. And that's, to me, the most interesting thing. I bought a 16 terabyte disk for $450, which means that I have to do the math. I don't want to do the math. So there's a website. Thank goodness there's a website to do the math for me. But that comes out to a kind of a stunning cost per gigabyte. That's where we used to do cost per megabyte on hard drives. My first hard drive, 5 megabytes, was nearly $1,000 a megabyte. A megabyte. Of course, that was the 80s. Actually, it might have been the 70s. It was a long time ago. I remember talking the boss into buying it. We need it, boss. 5. I'm not talking gigs. I'm talking megs. Megabytes. Less than one of my photos nowadays. I couldn't fit a photo from my camera on that. They're 44 megabytes. I need 8 of them. Lowest price per gigabyte, the Max Digital Data 3 terabyte drive, which is selling for $40 for 3 terabytes. That works out to 13 cents. No, I'm sorry. I was wrong. 0.13 cents. Is this right? 0.013 cents. We're gonna need more zeros. We're talking less. We're talking a little more than a penny a gigabyte. What? Oh man. This is the world has shifted dramatically. Less than a penny a gigabyte. Remember, I paid for $4,000 for a 5 megabyte drive 50 years ago, a long time ago, back in the Stone Age of computing. Wow. Disk prices, it's a nice little handy tool for you, diskprices.com. I love watching the price go down, down, down. Here's a shocking story from Bloomberg. You know, we have kind of an opioid crisis in America. People are hooked on over-the-counter painkillers, particularly OxyContin. According to Bloomberg, the company that makes OxyContin, Purdue Pharma, made a deal, or it looks like they might have made a deal with a software company called Practice Fusion. What did Practice Fusion software do? Well, they made software for medical practices, electronics records. The deal, we don't know exactly how much, but the deal, shortly after the deal, let's put it this way, smoking gun, shortly after the deal, a pop-up would appear on the medical records as the doctor was entering them in, asking about the patient's level of pain. That's reasonable, doctor said. Remember, he did 1 to 10 and all that. Then a drop-down menu would list treatments ranging from a referral to a pain specialist to a prescription for OxyContin. Over 3 years, the alert went off 230 million times. Bloomberg writes, the tool existed thanks to a secret deal. Its maker, Practice Fusion, was paid by a major opioid manufacturer to design it in an effort to boost prescriptions for addictive pain pills, even though by then overdose deaths had almost tripled over the past 15 years, creating a public health disaster. The software is used by tens and thousands of doctors' offices. Oh my goodness. See, sometimes we forget how software has invaded our lives. Computers have invaded our lives. And boy, that's a terrifying thought. If the computer could mess you up like that. Yikes. DOJ announced action against fraudulent robocall companies this week. Finally. Apple had great results. Its quarterly results, always good for the fourth calendar quarter, first quarter of Apple's fiscal year. Big number, though, and this is the number Apple likes to talk about, is how many people are using their devices. 1.5 billion active Apple devices, Macs, iPads, but mostly iPhones. 80% of them, 80% of iPhones and iPads running the latest iOS 13. That's a really good number. Wow. 1.5 billion active devices. Probably 1 billion of those are iPhones. Yeah. Which helps Apple pay the $1.1 billion fine. Or I guess it's a court decision to pay for patent infringement. They bought chips from Broadcom. Broadcom, apparently, according to the courts, infringed the patent of the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. They had the Wi-Fi patents. The jury said, Apple, you pay $837 million to Caltech. Broadcom, you pay him $270 million. That'll build a pretty nice library there in the campus. Good job, Caltech. Apple can afford it. Of course they can. It costs them nothing. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. I will talk to you about tech and anything on your mind in just a moment. 8888 Ask Leo, that's my number. Call me. Let's talk high tech next. It's a miracle. She comes back again week after week. The famous Kimmy Schaffer. Hello, Kim Schaffer, Unbreakable Phone Angel. Are the people going to try to break you today?
Oh, I don't think so. I think they're going to be nice.
I think they are, because tomorrow is the Super Bowl.
Yay.
So they were asking me in the chat room, irc.twit.tv, what my Super Bowl menu will be. What's your Super Bowl menu? Are you going to be at the bar or are you going to be home?
I'm going to a party yet to be determined. I got invited to 4. I don't know which one I'm going to.
Wow, must be nice to be popular. Wow.
Yeah, so I'll be having whatever they have because I'm here, so I can't really cook. So I just take the booze.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. See, mine is, which it's really disgusting, by the way, is you take equal amounts of canned chili and cream cheese and you put it in a crock pot, and then I'll come to work, and then 3 hours later, a golden delicious treat.
Sounds
yeah, it's pretty awful
to me.
I borrowed it from my my former television producer Ken Marcus, and so he gets full credit for this. It's really good.
I'm sure it is. It sounds like something my mom would make.
It's very 50s.
Anything with a crock pot and cream cheese.
Yeah, it's very 50s. Probably your mom would make it with Velveeta instead of cream cheese.
She might. No, she likes cream cheese. We make a dish with cream cheese, salsa, black beans, and chicken. That's just like a salsa chicken that's good, but very sinful because you know how much cream cheese is in there.
Now, I'm looking on the Hormel Chili website. And they say, to make that extra special, sprinkle a pound of mild cheddar cheese on top.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome.
Oh, man.
Spiking.
Yeah, spike them. But you gotta have wings. I was at the grocery store yesterday. They had a display featuring Frank's hot sauce, which is the traditional buffalo hot wing sauce.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Even in restaurants.
Even everywhere. Frank's is the right flavor.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. You got to sit there. I just read a story that said there's 18 minutes of action in 3 hours of football, and actually the Super Bowl is more like 5 hours.
And those 18 minutes are during the halftime show.
Yeah, well, that does not include the halftime show.
And
Shakira is going to shake those hips.
Yeah, they're both going to shake.
J-Lo is going to shake everything else. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. I agree. Well,
all we care about is our football team. That's all we care about.
Our red and gold.
The red and gold. What are you going to wear tomorrow? Anything fun?
I'll find something.
You have to work through half the game as usual. So
I know. Well, I mean, you got to wear your gold jacket again.
I guess I'll wear my
lucky gold puffy jacket.
It is lucky now, isn't it?
Yeah, and your helmet.
It's a hard hat.
Your
Thank you.
Hard hat helmet.
My San Francisco 49ers hard hat. Wear it in the mines next time you're digging for gold. Who should I?
Let's go to Andy, who's a complete tech novice and has a few questions about getting a little started in tech.
Thank you, Kim. From Pine River, Minnesota. Hello, Andy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. It's Andy. waiting on hold. Now I got two questions. The first question is when you're starting from like nothing, like you're not hooked up at all, you're off the grid, and you're thinking about wading in. You kind of want to get in the 21st century. You want Wi-Fi and whatever. And then you think about privacy. If you only live 15 minutes away from a library, do you even want to get on the grid? I mean, are you giving up a lot of privacy getting hooked up? If all you're trying to do is get song lyrics or something, if you're not running a business or anything, so that'd be my question. Is there a plus and a minus to this being hooked up?
This has become the question of the decade, I think, is what are we willing to give up for the phenomenally useful, I really want to underscore that, life-changing internet. Access to information about anything at your fingertips. Song lyrics, history, biology, chemistry.
Picture, water pump, everything.
Yes, exactly. There's YouTube videos on any possible way you could fix stuff. But there's also reprehensible YouTube videos on all sorts of nasty stuff. There's also the fact that Google, which runs YouTube, will know which you've watched. And then we'll offer you advertising and more videos based on what you're watching. And you're seeing, as we all are, all of the criticism of that and so forth. But this is kind of the financial model of the internet. The internet stuff is free, amazing stuff, free, right? You're not paying for anything except your internet access and a computer.
Except your privacy. You're paying.
Well, but okay, yeah. So your privacy. So what does that mean? What are they getting from you as you use the internet, especially if you use it at a library? But let's say you use it at home. If you're using it at the library, what they get from you is just that the library watched those videos. They don't know who you are. No. So let's say the worst case, you're doing it, as most people are, on a computer at home with a home internet. You've got a phone that's tied to your name and number and
all you're
address.
Really looking for is song lyrics. I'm not building bombs or anything.
Yeah. So this is, to me, the privacy angle is very complex and sometimes, I think, overrated. There's a lot of, tinfoil hat stuff going on here. So, mostly what's happening is companies like Facebook, YouTube, Google, and everything Facebook and Google are the chief culprits, maybe Amazon, are using the information about whatever they know about you. By the way, this has been going on for years, long before the internet. They've just gotten really good at it because of the internet, to show you ads. So instead of getting ads, as you would listening to this show, you're going to get ads that are targeted at tech users because that's all they know. Instead, you're going to get ads specifically targeted at your interests. I don't think that's so bad. There's a larger fear that, what if the government gets a hold of it and so forth. I have to take a break. This is such a big issue. I want to address it a little bit more. So hang on. We're going to do Scott Wilkinson. We're going to talk about home theater, and then I'll talk more about privacy because it's a big one. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's time for our home theater segment with Mr. Scott Wilkinson. He's a home theater geek, contributor at techhive.com, and a regular welcome feature on this network each and every week. Hello, Scotty.
Hey, Leo. Happy Super Bowl, day before Super Bowl.
I know you couldn't care less. You're the Puppy Bowl guy.
I'm going to be watching the Puppy Bowl. Actually, that's not true. This year, I'm going to watch some of the Puppy Bowl, but I'm also going to actually...
Wait a minute. Why? There's nothing going on. It's a bunch of dogs inside a football-shaped...
Yeah, right.
Kennel.
But it's so cute, and their puns are so good.
Oh, it's the announcers that make it good. Because the puppies don't know they're playing a game. They're just running around.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I tried to watch it for 30 seconds once, and it's like, okay, I get it. I don't need any more of this.
But the halftime show is going to feature Katy Perry.
Scott. Some of us will be much more interested in the other thing going on.
There is this other sort of, I don't know, sort of game with a ball that people kick with their foot.
I know I'm not alone because people are running to the store right now to get a television just to watch the Puppy Bowl. Or maybe that Super Bowl thing. I don't know.
Well, it might be more like Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, there was a big brouhaha. I mentioned it at the top of the hour. We talked last week about the fact that you'd be able to watch it streaming. And one of the best ways to watch it would be, of course, on your 4K HDR TV. And if you had a Roku, one of the high-end Rokus, you'd be able to watch it. Except then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, Roku said, we're going to delete all the Fox apps midnight, January 31st, last night.
Right. Because their retransmission contract ran out that day.
Well, now, that seems to me like it would be a shame if your fans was not able to watch the Super Bowl on the Roku. Who is it? Whose idea was this? Do we know?
I don't know.
They made an agreement, by the way. And if it hit me because this was how I was going to watch it. I have a Roku Ultra. I put the Fox Sports app on it, got it all set up, signed in.
Yep.
On my 4K TV, and it's going to be the kind of the background TV. Because we have a big,
it's going to be in your
100-inch
champagne room.
In the champagne, it's the champagne room. You'll be charged for admission.
This is the first year that the Super Bowl is going to be shown in 4K and, more importantly, HDR, high dynamic range,
and maybe even more importantly, 60 frames a second.
Correct. That's more important than the number of pixels on the screen. I agree with you 100%.
Will I get 60p on Roku?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
absolutely.
Good. All right.
Absolutely. And here we are at the last instant. They finally signed a deal, and Fox is going to be on Roku.
This reminds me so much. We've seen this happen with Dish, DirecTV, where they say, well, sorry, you're not getting any more ESPN. So this is like a part of the negotiation now.
It is.
And I feel like we are the pawns.
Yep.
We are just dinosaurs are battling. Get out of their way because they're going to step on you. It feels so abusive of my relationship with my TV provider.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to tell you that Roku isn't the only option.
Yeah. Apple TV, Fire TV.
Well, no. I want to make this very clear. A lot of places you can get 4K, but not necessarily HDR, which
Apple TV, no.
Apple TV, no. Dish, satellite, no.
Oh.
You can get 4K, but not HDR.
How about Xfinity? Comcast's Xfinity X1 supposedly has 4K.
4K, but I have not yet been able to determine whether it's got HDR. Xbox One, I don't know. Android TV, I don't know.
Yeah, I have an NVIDIA Shield. In fact, I know Mike Heiss, who joins us every week in the chat room to talk about this stuff, your colleague. He said he's going to compare the NVIDIA Shield, which has its own upscaling, its AI upscaling with... I love how they just paint everything with AI as if that makes it better. It's not AI.
That's obviously, it's just like when it used to be, the word quantum used to be the thing that made everything better.
But he's going to compare that to the upscaling that Fox is going to do, pre-sending it out.
That's right.
Because it's shot 1080p.
Here's another thing. It's being shot at 1080p, and Fox is upscaling it to 4K. Now, they're using professional upscaling gear, so it's going to be very, very good. But I read in one of the, there are a couple of articles, one in Digital Trends that I recommend. Caleb Dennison, another friend of mine, is in Miami covering the technology that they're using this year for the first time.
I'm a I could have done that.
I know, me too.
I got a million listeners. What?
Anyway, he interviewed some of the Fox people who said they're shooting it at 1080p 60 frames per second because shooting at 4K 60 actually causes more motion artifacts.
Yeah.
And so actually shooting at 1080p and upscaling makes it look better.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Yeah. And they're capturing in high dynamic range in a format called HLG, which is a format used by BBC or developed by BBC and NHK in Japan for use in live broadcast. And it's actually going to be available in HLG on the Fubo TV app. This is another app I want to make sure everybody understands. This is a subscription service. You pay $55 a month, I think, which is a lot, but they give you a free week's trial. So if you want to watch the Super Bowl on Fubo TV, sign up and then then cancel. But they are going to show it in HLG. Everybody else who is showing it in a high dynamic range is going to be converting the HLG to HDR10, which is a more common format. More TVs support that than HLG. Most TVs, modern TVs.
So that might be why Apple TV and some of these other boxes aren't doing the HDR. They can't somehow.
For some
technically, because I mean, Apple TV does
reason.
HDR. I watch HDR movies all the time.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
but for some reason, they can't do the live stream.
Right.
And I don't know
why. Well, it's
why
just what's being sent to them. It's being sent in a way that they can decode it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But DirecTV, channel 105, apparently is going to do HDR. So if you have DirecTV, you'll be able to see it that way.
Is there somewhere I can go to find out?
You know, I've
been Googling it, and there's lots of articles.
There's a lot of articles on it, and there's not any real consistent information. I've been very frustrated by that, which is why I've spent a lot of time putting together sort of a list here. Before we run out of time, I want to make sure that everybody knows that there are some TV deals now, as there always are before Super Bowl Sunday, and you only have one day left. But if you're still looking for a TV deal, I got a few for you.
Good, because you may say, hey, I really want to see this. That's right.
The lowest price. Now, there's plenty of them, TVs that I don't recommend because they're edge lit or they're just not very good. The TCL 55R617, the 6 Series TCL, is $500 on Amazon and Walmart, 55-inch. 65-inch for $700. Vizio PQ65, that's a 65-incher for $1,000. Samsung 65Q70 for $1,200 on Amazon. LG 55-inch C9 OLED for $1,500. That's a hell of a deal.
The C9 is very good. That's kind of like the one I have. I have a I have a
V7, I think.
Yeah, it's or 6, I think. But it's from 2016. That's what that number means.
But the 55 C9 is fantastic.
Excellent.
You want to get a 75-inch, the TCL 75-inch 6 series for $1,700 on Amazon, or the Sony XBR 75 X900 for $1,700 also. So there are some really good deals out there right now. And if you are going to jam and get a TV for tomorrow's game, those are the ones I recommend.
When will the Puppy Bowl be broadcast in 4K?
Oh, the same time as the Super Bowl, of course.
But in 4K HDR, I want to see those little puppies. Every hair on their little puppy heads. Scott Wilkinson, Home Theater Geek. He's at techhive.com, and it's always a pleasure, Scott. Thank you for the tips. Everybody, run and get a TV now.
That's right.
Yay. I love I bought the new NVIDIA Shield, so I'm not clear. It's so, all these articles are so unclear about who's doing what when. So
it's so frustrating. I've spent a lot of time.
We should probably, fortunately, most TVs, when you get into an HDR signal, will tell you, right?
Yes, they will.
So that's probably what you should wait for.
Yep.
You think? I mean,
well,
will they tell you what frame rate and all that stuff?
Yeah, they should. They
pop it up. Is there a way, if you miss that quick pop up, like is there an?
There's normally a display button or an info button.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing to do, is tune around until you get it the way you should get it. It'll say 4K HDR. I know my LG says 4K when it's 4K and HDR when it's HDR.
Right. As far as my research has indicated, it's I think the most consistent, best way that most people are going to be able to get 4K HDR with the Super Bowl is on Fubo TV.
Fubo.
FUBO.
And Fubo, that's a subscription over the top service.
That's a subscription service. Yep, subscription over the top service. It is. It's not free. The Fox Sports app.
They're going to give that away for this weekend. Normally, you have to have a cable account, I think.
Correct. And you might still have to have one.
I had to. Well, when I downloaded and installed it, I made an account, and then I did have to sign into my Xfinity.
Yeah.
Fubo is a sports-centric streaming service.
Sports-centric. Say that 5 times fast. Streaming, over-the-top streaming service. That's right. And they're going to be offering 4K HDR.
But it's $55 a month.
I know.
Minimum.
I know. I know. It's terribly expensive.
And they just dropped the Fox regional sports networks.
But they have the Fox National.
They have the football games via the Fox Sports app. So they're using the same thing.
Yeah. So fortunately, Roku now has the Fox. That's how I'm going to watch it. And believe me, I'm not interested. I'm going to be watching it just to check out the technology.
Yeah.
I don't care who wins. And the ads. The ads I want to see too.
This is funny. Fubo TV, it's a sports-centric network, but doesn't have ESPN on it.
What?
The cable companies are just they're going to make it so that you can't really go over the top. They really don't want
try.
to. Yeah, and if you do, they're going to make their money some other way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try this on my Fox Sports app. I have it on my Roku Ultra.
Yeah.
I also have it on my NVIDIA Shield. I have the brand new one, so I'll compare those two.
Yep. I sure hope that works.
And then Bill Murray will be back for a Michelob ad playing Groundhog Day. No, I'm sorry, Mountain Dew. He's going to do Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, okay.
Mountain Dew, yeah. The ads are going to be good.
The ads are going to be great.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
the
excited. I'm bummed because I have to work. I work till about 5, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you work till 2, but then don't.
No, then I have to do Twit. Yeah, do Twit.
Yeah.
Twit
on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
And there's no way to, I guess, and you can't really record these streaming ones.
I can't say. Oh, let's not watch. That's not, because I don't want to do it next week either because of the Academy Awards, but that's
right.
life. Hey, can you stick around for the top of the hour?
Sure, happy to.
All right. Mike B saying TiVo has added game skip. They did this last year, so you can skip the game and just watch the ads.
Yay!
Yay, TiVo! I'm gonna record it on TiVo. That's it.
There you go.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So for everybody not in San Francisco or Kansas City, in other words, people who couldn't care less about this football game, it's the ads, right? TiVo, they did this last year. I love it. If you record it on your TiVo, normally TiVo has a skip ad button on some recordings. But in the case of the big game, they're going to have a skip game button. You can just go ad to ad to ad. I remember they did that last year. That's awesome. So I'll record it on the TiVo, even though that won't be 4K HDR. It'd be nice to have just skip to the next ad. So we were talking before the break, we were talking about privacy. And really, this is such a big conversation. I want to have enough time to really delve into it. Our caller was asking, look, I'm not online at all now, but I would like to get song lyrics, he says. That's, the problem is what happens. You get online, you get the internet, and you realize, it's not just song lyrics, it's everything. I can get everything. Endless amounts of information. The internet is incredibly useful. Let's not lose sight of that. It's also mostly free. Mostly free. Once you pay for your internet connection, whether it's from the phone company or the cable company, or maybe you're lucky and you get fiber too, or a third party like that. But once you pay for your internet connection, and that ranges in price from $25 to $60 a month, something like that. And you probably have internet on your smart device as well, paying for that through the phone company. Once you've got that, you will find an amazing range of information. You'll just find it incredibly useful. Communication, socialization, and yes, there's a lot of trash also because the internet's made of people. Somebody said, I think absolutely correctly, if you hate the internet, it's not the internet you hate, it's the people that you hate. The internet just brings all of those people into your home, and a lot of it's incredibly useful. So I think that you need the internet, period. You really do. You don't know what you're missing if you don't have it. Once you have it, you'll say, oh my gosh, I can listen to old-time radio shows, I can watch TV, I can do everything we're talking about. Everything on this show, internet, worth it. It's the single most important invention probably since the wheel, certainly since the printing press, no doubt about it. More than the car, more than the airplane. It is life-changing. In fact, the next big thing on the internet is we're going to get internet in the sky. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and others are planning on putting satellites up that will give us high-speed internet everywhere on the globe, at sea, in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside. That's been one of the problems with the internet, is you have to live in an urban area to get decent internet. Soon, within the next few years, literally this year, it'll start, and it'll get faster and faster, better and better, everywhere in the world. That means that the half of the population of the earth that isn't on the internet will now be able to get on the internet. And that's going to change things too, because the more people on it, the more valuable it is. Also, the messier it is. Acknowledged, but the more valuable it is. How does the internet? It's mostly free. Besides the paying for it, how do you pay for it? Well, if you use Facebook, for instance, incredibly useful. Great way to stay in touch with people, to see what's going on. If you use Google, you have to use Google or some search engine to find stuff on the internet because there's so much. Those services, incredibly useful as they are free. Why? Because just like this radio show, they're advertising supported. I don't charge you for the radio show either. You hear ads, right? That's how we pay for it. It works out quite well. In fact, my whole life, more than 40 years, my salary's been paid for. My rent, my food, my children's education, my toys, everything been paid for by advertisers. Free advertised supported media. That's a long-standing tradition. I like it. It works for me. The alternative is to charge you subscription, and more people are doing that. And certainly it's worth it. That's what if you're watching cable TV, you're getting charged, aren't you? So that's reasonable. Netflix doesn't have ads. HBO doesn't have ads. They charge you. So those are the two financial models. In the problem with privacy, the thing that's sprung up over the years, when you listen to the radio, I don't know much about you. I don't know anything about you. That's why radio tends to end up in not general purpose programming, but niche or specific programming. That's why you hear a lot of politics on news talk. They're aiming at an audience. This show is about technology. So advertisers, if you listen to our advertisers, are mostly technology companies. They know if you're listening to this show, wow, you must really be into technology. So that works okay, but then along come these new websites like Facebook, Google, Amazon is a big advertising company, believe it or not, Microsoft, and they have even more information about you because they know what you're doing online. They know what videos you're watching. They know for Google, what search terms. Facebook knows even more. They know your age, your location, your income, your friends. They know a ton. And that's very valuable. Now, they're not giving, we've got to be very clear about what they do with this information. That's their secret sauce. In most cases, they do not give that information to third parties. They want to keep it to themselves. I can't go to Facebook or Google and say, tell me everything you know about Leo Laporte. I can do a Google search, but that's not, they don't, all the behind the scenes information I can't get. They know, and they sell it in aggregate, not by individuals, but they say, hey, we can give you 25 to 35-year-old men who with income over $43,000, who have 4 years of high school education, who live in the Twin Cities area. And they can even get more specific than that. We can give you Republicans. We can give you Democrats. Facebook knows a lot, so does Google. Advertisers love it because it makes their ad spend more efficient. When they buy an ad, it's targeted at somebody who's likely to buy. And there's all sorts of tricks that Facebook and others use. For instance, if I have a mailing list, if I'm on a company, and I've got a mailing list of my customers, the people who love me, our best customers, I can send that mailing list to Facebook. Facebook compares what they know about those people and can find an equal list of people who are not subscribers, who are not customers, but have very similar demographic profiles, very similar people, and say, look, based on this mailing list, you should be advertising to these people. That's very effective. A great way to look at this is at presidential campaigns. That stuff is public. And most of those ad spends are $100 or less. They're so specific. $100, but they spend millions of dollars $100 at a time because they're so specific. They can target so directly. And there's some concern that Facebook could even target you based on your current emotional tenor. Are you unhappy? Are you happy? Are you depressed? And they can target you that way. Because it's called sentiment analysis. They can look at what you post on Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook and say, well, he seems depressed. Let's send him some drug ads or whatever. They do that. We know they do that. It works. Advertisers love it. That's the chief privacy invasion. Now, admittedly, when a company's collecting all this information, there are other people who would love to get it. The government, right? Are you worried? If you're worried about your government, if you live in a country where your government would use that information to persecute you, to jail you, that's a problem. I don't think that's not the U.S. It's not our situation currently. Let's hope it stays that way. But that's one risk. Maybe insurance companies. People often say, well, if I eat a lot of donuts, aren't my insurance rates going to go up? But these are all very hypothetical right now. Well, the real use of these, and these companies hold them tight because they don't want to give them away. The real use is for advertising. So that's what you have to decide. Is it worth this incredibly useful internet? Is it worth giving up some of that information? That's the question you have to ask. And I think most of us have said, yeah, I guess it is, because it's so useful.
Yeah, I was just talking to Swamp Rat in the chat room just said that with the Hulu plan he doesn't get any ads. I do. I get ads. And apparently
Hulu has two plans. They have a premium plan that has no ads.
Okay, I don't have the premium plan, and thus I get ads, and it bugs the heck out of me. So I guess I'm going to have to pay more if I want no ads. Dang. Mike 1 says, is there a list to know what resolutions the TV stations are broadcasting? The TV stations, over the air and cable, are for the Super Bowl anyway, it's all 720p, which is what Fox broadcasts in. The game is being captured at 1080, but it's being downscaled to 720 for over the air and cable broadcast. And then it's being upscaled to 4K for certain channels on DirecTV and Dish.
We should point out that like ESPN is 720p in its broadcast mode. So 1080p,
and so
60 frames, and so is Fox. It's very good. You don't normally get that kind of quality.
Right, although it's being down-converted for Fox broadcast.
To 720.
To 720p.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, down-converting is always gives you better results, almost always, than capturing at the final resolution. So normally they capture at 720p and they show it at 720p, and that looks fine. But capturing it at 1080 and downscaling is actually going to look slightly better. But upscaling to 4K, well, I'm interested to see. I'm not going to pass judgment until I actually see it. I've actually got my Dish network set to record the 4K SDR, unfortunately, on channel 540, and also the normal Fox broadcast in LA, channel 11. And I'm going to compare them. So we'll see. And then I'm also going to tune in and watch a little bit on Fox Sports app on the Roku. I suppose I could get a 1 week free trial on Fubo TV, but I'm going to see what Fox Sports does. Hopefully that will do the job. Beatmaster says, yeah, the box being 1080p doesn't mean that's what the content provider puts out. That's correct. And in fact, over the air isn't even going to, if you were to get 1080, it wouldn't be P progressive, it would be I interlaced. So 720p is better in that regard as well. So yeah, this is all so confusing. Yes, Web 1491 record 1080. Well, yeah, they capture at 1080, they down convert to 720 for OTA. Then your TV upscales it to 4K if you have a 4K TV. Because no matter what your TV gets, if it's lower than 4K, it's going to upscale it to 4K. So you're getting upscaling one way or the other. And even though TV upscaling has gotten so much better over the last few years, professional upscaling that Fox is going to use on their outbound stream is going to be better. No doubt. I have zero doubt of that. Lumpy says, I love talking to people who know for sure that they get 4K OTA on their TV and think I am crazy. No, you're not crazy. They're wrong. There is no such thing as 4K OTA, except in a couple of markets. Now, ATSC 3.0 has been deployed experimentally in a few markets. I think Phoenix is one, and that's only one channel in Phoenix, and a few others. At CES this year, we learned that ATSC hopes to get ATSC 3.0 deployed in, I think they said 70 markets. No, they said 70% of the U.S. population by the end of 2020. So by the end of this year, they hope to. They did acknowledge that was probably overly optimistic, shall we say? I forget how many markets they said. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I do remember 70% of the U.S. population was what they were hoping to get. But it's just not. Generally speaking, the vast majority of the U.S. population currently does not get 4K over the air. They just don't do it. Now, if you have a 4K TV, as I said before, any signal coming in over the air, cable, satellite, streaming, anything, gets upscaled to 4K. So it's understandable that somebody might mistakenly think that they're getting a 4K signal, but they're not. That is absolutely clear. Eric Duckman says KEYT is a test market. Eric, where is KEYT? What market is that in? And Scooter X put out showed us an ATSC newsletter link coming soon to a TV station near you. Top 40 TV markets launching ATSC 3.0.
Doesn't mean they'll do 4K.
It doesn't mean, and that's a very good point. Just because they're doing ATSC 3.0 doesn't mean they will do 4K. That's
4K
correct.
Production is tough. You have to upgrade everything. The cameras, everything. It's very expensive. And they just upgraded to HD recently.
Right. To digital.
Yeah.
And 1080 or 4. Yeah.
They don't. I don't think they.
They don't want to do it
They
again.
don't want to do it again.
That's exactly right.
In fact, when we talked to, we had to edit it out because she wasn't authorized to talk to us. When we talked to the ATSC 3 lady, she focused on interactivity as being the real selling point. Yep.
Which is a pretty big selling point if you're over the air and you can.
It's been a pipe dream for years, though.
And you need internet access.
Right.
You need your tuner or your TV to be connected to the internet, which a lot of them are these days. So it's not that big a deal. And I like the fact that you're going to have something of a unified user interface to get the weather or so on and so forth. One of the interactive things that they talk about a lot, I don't know how important it's really going to be, is kind of emergency broadcasting. You know, if there's
a holding action against the inevitable, and I mean inevitable, disappearance of over-the-air TV.
Yeah. Yep, I'm afraid you're probably right about that.
That's why you got the internet. What do you need that for?
Yeah, right. Oh man, we have I think a lot of cities have, free newspapers.
Yeah, that's what OTA will be.
We have, exactly. Our free newspaper used to be, 100 pages. The last one I saw a little while ago, it was 16 pages.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
That's going away.
Yeah.
It's quickly disappearing up its own you-know-what.
All right, Scotty. Thank you.
Enjoy the Puppy Bowl.
Oh, you too.
Go Team Fluff.
Oh, he's Team Fluff, eh? Well,
I'm Team Fluff.
I'm Team Curly Short Hairs. I don't know.
No, it's Team Rough. It's
Rough.
Team Rough versus Team Fluff.
Oh, do you want to stick around for our first call? He
Sure.
wants to talk to you. All right.
Okay.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, privacy, security, TV, the Super Bowl. Line 1 has a question for Scott Wilkinson, so I'm going to get him on right now because Scott's still here. Ed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hello, Ed.
Hello, Leo. Scott, thanks a lot for taking my call.
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
I have to pay him overtime, so make it quick. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I've been dreaming of an 82, 85-inch or so TV. I've listened to a lot of what you said, and you give me all this information on the things to look for.
Wow.
I started off, my seating position is almost 15 feet away from the screen, and I've heard terms like 1.6 times the diagonal, 2 to 3 times the diagonal. I don't know what the sweet spot is. I'm getting confused there. But then the other things, I guess non-negotiable would be backlit LED.
What's called full array local dimming, FALD or FALD? Yes.
Yes, and then when I look for that in the specifications, I find no mentions of those things in any of the TVs I'm looking at.
Well, some of them do. Some of them on the online specs do specify that, and some don't. I agree. It's not a consistent thing. Well, what are you looking at? Well,
unfortunately, the one that you mentioned a year ago turns out to be 75 inches. They top out their Vizio Quantum and Quantum X. Then there's an LG 8070, the Samsung QLED 60, 70, and 90. I think you mentioned the 70 a little while ago. That might be the sweet spot there.
Yes, the 70 is the 60 is edge-lit, and the 70 is full array backlit, as is the Q80 and Q90. So I would go down to the Q70. That would be the lowest I would go.
Okay, good. And then Sony has the X850G and X950G. The 950 mentions full array. The 850, yes. I didn't see it.
I'd have to look that up. I think the X50 probably isn't full array local dimming. So the 950, I know is. I know for sure.
Okay. Well, how's my distance? And the other seats in this room, but nobody ever watches TV with me, so it doesn't matter. But they go up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's so sad, Ed.
I know. No, I think you're exactly right. At 15 feet, I would definitely go.
Bigger is
with
better.
Absolutely, I would go with an 82 or an 85, no question whatsoever.
I'll put a link on our show notes to the RTings website where they have a calculator, but the calculator only goes to 12 feet and it says 85 inches. I don't know what, 15 feet, as big as you can afford, as big as you can fit in your room.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, they're all down to the price that I can handle. I just wondered about that LG versus the Samsung, the 8070, if that fit into that category.
Well, let me see here. You said LG. What was it again?
What about a projector? I have.
Well, that's another thought.
I have in my great room, Ed. It's a big room, and for tomorrow for the Super Bowl, we'll have people wandering around. The kitchen's part of it, the dining room's part of it. So we have a projector in there that goes to 100 inches. Reason being, no matter where you're sitting, you want it. The game is really big and nice. Projection's never going to be as bright as LCD.
Correct.
But,
or OLED for that matter.
Yeah, but it looks good.
Bright room.
Yeah.
Bright room.
Yeah, ours is too.
Are you in a bright room?
Fairly bright, yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
We have that Hisense projector, short throw projector, which is nice because it doesn't take up any more space than a regular TV. I just put the projector on the same credenza that the TV was on.
Right.
You do have to. It's expensive because you have to get a special screen for it and all of that. But then you get 100 inches. Bright room though. I don't know. We usually watch at night, so it doesn't matter that we can't darken the room that much.
Right. And I will tell you this: the LG. Most of the LG LCD TVs are edge lit. So I would be careful about that. The LG UM8070, I think you said the number was?
Yes.
I'm just looking that up now, and of course my internet's going a little slow, but here it is. I'd have to let me see if I can find it real quick. I know I'm on a gun here, but I suspect that's edge lit. I would go with the Samsung Q70.
70. Okay.
Yeah. Or the Sony X950.
Here's a question we don't
or X900 if you can get an 85-inch.
We don't often address, but how long are you going to have that TV, Scott? I mean, micro LEDs coming along maybe in 5 years. You're going to see.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a while before it's affordable.
Okay. So this is going to be a 5 to 10 year investment.
Yeah. Which TVs mostly are these days. I would.
They're not as long as they used to be. That's for
correct. Correct. TVs used to be a 20 or 25 year investment. Now they're a 5 to 10 year investment.
5 is about the age of the one I have now. It's a Vizio 1080p.
And I predict in 5 years you'll start to say, I'd like to see what I can get out there. You know, one way you future-proof it is by getting 4K HDR, right?
Oh, absolutely. You want HDR without
I don't
question.
think you cannot get it.
Right.
Don't worry about smart TV. You're going to get it, but you're not going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way around that. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. I'd go with the Samsung Q70 or the Sony X900 or X950.
Yeah, they didn't have prices on the website for either of those. It did for the 850G, so I just wondered if they even were carrying them anymore, 950 and 900.
Oh, well, just Google them. I'm sure you'll be able to find them.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Okay, great.
Hey, I'm glad you could stick around, Scott. Thank you, Ed.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's nice to have an expert, a Marshall McLuhan I can pull out from behind the movie sign. Well, I happen to have him right here.
Right here.
Scott Wilkinson at techhive.com, and, of course, every week on our show. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is the time everybody's going out and looking at TVs. And actually, it's not a bad time, although Scott, I think, has told us that the only problem with buying a TV in January, are you still there, Scott? The new models, when do they come out? More like the spring, right?
The springtime, yeah.
So you're going to
summer.
You're going to be buying a 2019 model, almost certainly.
Correct. And Beatmaster in the chat room is saying you should look for HDMI 2.1. I disagree. With a 4K TV, HDMI 2.0 is fine. With an 8K TV,
that's what 2.1 is for.
That's really what he wants 2.1 for. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Scott Wilkinson.
My pleasure.
All right, have a good one. I have my TV, as I said, I bought it 3 or 4 years ago, and I couldn't be happier. So I think it's reasonable to expect at least 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. 8888 Ask Leo. We will talk high tech, you and I. Anything on your mind? 888-827-5536. And I do want to follow up on that Super Bowl conversation. We have a number of links to different articles, Consumer Reports, one of them, Tom's Hardware, another. We'll put those in our show notes so that you can at least try to figure out how you can watch the Super Bowl in 4K tomorrow. The website, techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. That's free, no sign up. 8888 Ask Leo. Your calls coming up. Hey, our show today brought to you, as always, by CashFly. That's our content delivery network. We used to, when the show first came out, you just download it right from the website, but that got old fast. CashFly delivers rich media content like podcasts, like applications, like data, up to 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods. It's even up to 30 times faster than the other major CDNs. And because CashFly has servers all over the world, your customers downloading the data from the server that's near them. That's really a big difference. They also means they have 100% SLA. They never go down. For me, that was huge. I don't want any middle-of-the-night phone calls. I can't download Twit. The server's down. Oh, that'd be a nightmare, but it never happens, does it? In fact, people always tell me, your podcast download faster than anybody others. CashFly. We actually deliver petabytes of data every month of our shows, audio and video, via CashFly to you, our listeners, and I am so grateful to CashFly. I want you to try it yourself. I'm not alone, by the way. Ours technically uses CashFly. Even companies like Microsoft and Adobe are CashFly customers. LG. On average, customers who switch to CashFly get not only faster service, but more than 20% in savings. Get a custom plan tailored to your needs. It evens out the spikes. This is the nature of this data by by its very nature, is it's spiky. You know, on Sunday night, everybody's downloading Twit. And if I had to watch and make sure that spike didn't hit a certain level, that'd make me crazy. Nope, they work with you to average it out over a year. So it's really a great solution. I want you to try it. If you are right now using a CDN, or if you're not and you want to, twit.cashfly.com. They're giving away a detailed analysis of your current bill, your current usage trends. They tell you how much you can save with CashFly. And there's no high-pressure sales. These guys are great. I just love them. CashFly. Twit.cashfly.com to get the free analysis. As we always say, Bandwidth for the Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com. Thank you, CashFly. I appreciate it. Yeah. That's right. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. Line 2, Daniel, Chatsworth, California. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. My cable bill is not doing well, though. It just keeps rising.
Yes, it does. You know why it keeps rising? Because they figure at some point you're going to say, oh, I'm going to get rid of the cable bill and go use the internet for all my TV. So they got to keep it going up.
Yeah.
So they're preparing for that day.
I've been a TiVo user for about 20 years now, and I was wondering if there is a service where I can still keep my TiVo and use it and not having to pay that high of a bill.
That's an interesting question. You're talking TiVo, but you want to have internet-only TiVo.
Right.
Yeah. I guess you could. Chat room might know. Most people don't bother because you don't really need all the elaborate stuff. First of all, TiVo has a monthly subscription, unless you paid for...
Yeah, I do have a lifetime.
You had the lifetime. That's why you want to keep it.
Right.
Are you going to do any over-the-air broadcasts, or are you just going to do internet-only broadcasts?
Just internet only would be fine.
Yeah. Do you get over-the-air? You probably do in Chatsworth. You could probably get the...
I can get it, yeah. I mean,
So-
right now I don't because I have the cable.
Yeah, so that's probably the best way to cord cut. If you can get locals over the air, is to spend a little money on an antenna.
Right.
You do need an over-the-air TiVo. You have one that goes to the cable box, so it's a different kind, unfortunately.
Actually, I can hook up an antenna too.
Oh, you can. Excellent.
Yeah.
So that's the way the TiVos used to be. So then you get the TiVo benefit with the live, which is the live locals. And then TiVo has its own over-the-air. You know, you have their own apps on the TiVo app. And I think most of the over-the-air stuff you don't need the TiVo features for because it's all on demand. In other words, there's no reason to record a Netflix show because it's always there.
I was, wanting to get the cable channels that...
that's another matter entirely.
Yeah.
So now you need to go to an over-the-internet service, OTT is what they call it, over-the-top service that has live locals. There are several of these. PlayStation Vue just shut down, but there's still Sling TV, AT&T's DirecTV Now. I think they've renamed it. Fubo we mentioned, Pluto TV. The one I use comes from Google. It's YouTube TV. $50 a month. So this is the problem. You're not going to necessarily save much money, but it just depends on how much you buy, right? How much TV you buy. $50 a month gives you all your locals, built-in TiVo-like DVR capability. In fact, it's better than TiVo because you can have up to 6 family members share that account, and each of them have their own recording area and their own recordings. So if your wife likes football and you like basketball, you don't have to see her football recordings. You only see yours.
Oh, that sounds good.
The DVR in YouTube TV is phenomenal. It has a very similar to TiVo's guide. You know, it's got the grid guide, but a little bit better because you can see what's on. It's actually playing in little thumbnails.
Okay.
I honestly think, if that's... The problem is that's $50. Then if you're going to add HBO or Showtime or any of the more, there's additional subscriptions, it ends up being pretty close to your cable bill. Not a huge difference.
I see.
But you get more control over it.
Okay. Now, some time ago, I thought you mentioned a company that will send you a cable card, like the cable company does.
Yeah, your cable company is by law required to give you a cable card. That's usually what people do with their TiVo. That's how my TiVos work. They have a little slot in the back. It looks like a credit card. It's actually the old PCM CIA card. You plug it in, and it makes that TiVo a cable box. It gives it all the capabilities of the cable box that you would normally get. So you don't have to rent a cable box from the cable company. You just rent the cable card instead. They're required to do that. Sometimes they aren't real cooperative. They'd rather rent you the box if they could. But I have cable cards in three different locations in my house instead of cable boxes. I don't want the cable boxes, and I like the TiVos better. Yeah. So that's another way to go if you want to keep it. Then now you're going to continue to pay the cable fee. You can't get. And somebody called last week. You're going to see ads all the time. You're going to be people talking about, oh, I get free TV doing this. There is no such thing. You will be paying. If you're getting free, it's a pirate system. Yeah. And there are lots of those. But I don't tell people how to do it because obviously that's wrong. I don't think the cops will come to your door. They may shut down the pirate service, though. In fact, almost certainly will at some point. So these pirate services are offshore. They move around. They're different places. I don't recommend doing that. That's just wrong.
Of course.
Yeah. I just saw a study that said that we have gone from, I think, a year ago or 2 years ago, $130 a month for streaming content to, on average in the U.S., to $170 a month on streaming content. We buy content, which is good. The content companies, who used to be really concerned about piracy, I think, have realized that convenience is more important, and the fact that I could just turn on my TV and start streaming from Amazon Prime and Hulu and YouTube and Netflix, and I got more TV than I ever needed, and I only need the cable company for one thing, that's internet access.
Right.
And if you want over the air, if you want locals, like say you want to watch the Super Bowl tomorrow or you want to watch the Academy Awards next Sunday, then you want your local, ABC affiliate, over the air is the best deal in television because you just put up an antenna and it's free, and it's very high quality, by the way. It's HD quality.
Right.
So that's the best. If you're going to cord cut, that's your best hope for getting a deal. If you can get over the air, spend a little money on the antennas. Very good. There are two very good sites I refer people to if they're looking on how to get over the air signals, what kind of antenna, what kind of signals you can get based on your location, that kind of thing. It's tvfool.com, tvfool.com.
Okay.
And the Consumer Electronics Association has its own site, which is, a little more official. It's antennaweb.org. And that will also help you figure out what kind of antenna you need for your locals, whether you can get your locals. tvfool.com, antennaweb.org are two excellent sites. If you can get inexpensive high-speed internet, and if you can get over the air, then cord cutting might make sense. It just depends on your need for sports or movies or, extra stuff. That's where it adds up.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Sounds
Enjoy.
good.
Yeah. I think, the other thing I would send people to it's an alternative to TiVo is silicondust.com. silicondust.com. They make the HD Homerun. These are for live over-the-air DVR. So the only time you really need a DVR these days, a digital video recorder these days, is for live TV, right? Because everything else is streaming. You can watch HBO, Showtime, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, whenever you want. It's always available. So you don't need to DVR that stuff. You just need the live stuff DVR'd. So Silicon Dust makes a variety of, I think, great solutions. The one I'm waiting for, I may be waiting forever. It may be vaporware at this point, is one that uses a cable card. We were talking about how you can get the cable card, how I have 3 of them. I'd like to replace my TiVos with an HD Homerun Prime. 6 tuners, put a cable card in there, and then hook it up to either a computer or a network-attached storage device, and suddenly you've got internet-wide, powerful TV capabilities. That's my dream. When I get that, I'll tell you how it works out. I'm still waiting for the Homerun for a cable card. I may be waiting forever. In development, they say. Johnny Jett's in development, our travel guru. He's ready. We're going to go to Johnny and talk about traveling like a rock star when we return right after this. We don't get over the air here, so... And I got an email from a guy. I should read it because every time I do this and I say, you're not going to save money, I get emails. This is from Andy, fellow geek. He says, you frequently say that cord cutting provides no notable savings over cable and or satellite subscriptions. My experience is very much the contrary. I had Dish TV for a bazillion years. Even after continually negotiating a discount rate, I was still paying about $1,200 a year, plus or minus $100 a month. I pay for my cable almost $200 a month now. It just, as our last caller said, they just notch it up bit by bit. This service did include a DVR, a big selling point for me. Actually, TiVo had a very good DVR. Dish had a very good DVR, the Hopper, remember that? I still had an additional internet bill for my residence as well, right? Of course you do. You always have the internet bill. So this is what Andy did. I canceled my Dish Network subscription. There's $100 a month down. Put a quality antenna on my roof. Yes, giving me 43 over-the-air channels. There you go. Including ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. My wife was bummed. She lost the Food Channel. I subscribed to Philo, a streaming network, $17 a month, which gave me the Food Channel plus many more desirable channels. Okay, so now we're at $17 a month. I also have the Roku Supreme additional programming. Yes, lots of it. I purchased the basic Tableau device, which is a competitor to Silicon Dust. It's a similar idea, which allows me to DVR any of my antenna channels. Philo provides a free DVR. I pay $5 a month for an advanced channel guide on the Tableau. With Tableau and Philo, I can watch anything on my portable devices. My current monthly bill now, $22, saving about $80 a month. He says, notes, I'm not a huge sports fan. B, my son does share his Netflix account with us. Oh, you didn't mention that. Okay, I had $12. The key is, and I've mentioned this before, if you can get over the air, that's the best deal in television. That's free, right? Except for he doesn't mention how much it costs to put an antenna on his roof. But it costs a little bit, right? So, if you can get live over the air with an antenna, you're going to spend a little money on hardware to get like a Tableau or a Silicon Dust. There's some upfront costs. One must not forget. But there's upfront costs for cable too. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to say that everybody is going to spend more. Johnny Jett, I give you our traveling guy. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Leo.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know what? I told you I've been planning this round the world trip for the last few months.
Now, are you just going to do it on a plane?
Well,
I think you should walk or bicycle if you're really going to do a round the world trip.
Agreed. I mean, obviously.
They got bicycles you can go across the ocean now.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, it'd be a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the whole virus thing's been freaking everyone out.
Oh, yeah.
Part of my stops were Singapore,
is Singapore?
Bangkok,
No,
and Hong Kong. And Hong Kong. Hong Kong is
are airlines not flying? I know they're not flying to China, but do they fly to Hong Kong?
They do fly to Hong Kong, some of them, but some of them were just canceled. So Delta canceled them. Americans still flying them.
I feel bad for people who have plans to go to China because let's be honest. The flu, the everyday flu is far worse. This is a form of flu. It's a new form. People are concerned because it's a new form. We didn't get the shots for this one. But it's not as bad as the flu.
Sorry, but you don't know. I think they don't know. And for China to shut down a whole region is remarkable. So I think that scared everyone. And now the U.S. really, started shutting it down. And now all these pilots and flight attendants do not want to fly, which I cannot blame them.
But just to put this in perspective, 19 million Americans got the flu this year, this season,
Right.
there were 10 to 25,000 deaths. It's not clear. But between October of 2019 and January 25th, there have been between 10,000 and 25,000 deaths from the influenza, the one you get the shot for.
Right.
Coronavirus, flu, which is another, it's also flu, 240 deaths. So let's just put this in perspective.
Agreed. And actually, I found this incredible tool. Actually, it was someone in your chat room last week. It's from John Hopkins. And I just put it in the chat room and I tweeted it out, tagged you. It's a long URL, so I can't even say it. And you actually need to have the code at the end to actually access it. So you can't go right through John Hopkins University, but it shows you the whole map and how many people have been affected, which countries, how many people have died. And the numbers you just said are pretty much right there.
The flu is bad news.
The flu is bad news, and that scares me. That's why we don't put our newborn on a plane until the flu season's over.
So, admittedly, maybe there's something they're not telling us about it. The World Health Organization says it is a health emergency. But anyway, so don't go to China, I guess.
Well, I would have gone on the whole trip, but
part of the problem is we don't know how it's transmitted, right? And it could mutate and become something even worse. And I don't know.
For sure. And I have 2 little kids. I cannot take a chance. Also, I don't want to be quarantined for a couple of weeks because there was a flight from Singapore to China that had 2 sick people on it, and they quarantined the whole plane.
Yeah, 14-day quarantine because it's got a long incubation.
Yeah, so I can't. I was going around the world in 8 days. I can't go away, be quarantined for 2 weeks.
I just think of it as a vacation, even though it is an Air Force base you'd be quarantined on.
No, that's in America. In China, you're being quarantined.
That's no vacation at all.
That is not, because you're also being quarantined with sick people.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to diminish. I don't want to, say it's not a problem. But it's just we also have the flu, and because we're used to it, we don't think about it. But that's much more deadly, at least right now.
It is. But this is a good time, by the way, to fly. A lot of people who, when these outbreaks happen, people are like, that's when I want to go because everything's going to be cheap.
It's really quiet.
You can get upgraded for cheap.
Bring your own masks. Bring your own masks.
One of my flights, I bought a coach ticket from Hong Kong to LA on American Airlines for $500. And I used a system-wide upgrade for a lie flat seat. So that business class would have been $500 for me. But you can buy that business class. You could buy actually first class for $2,200. So you're going to get some good deals, and the hotels are definitely going to be wide
empty.
Open. They are. And
I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, listen, I have a lot of friends. I wrote a post. I just tweeted it out and put it in the chat room, and I had so many comments. And some of them that scared me were from really seasoned travelers, and even some of my readers that were living in these countries. And they're like, "Stay home, don't go." But there were other people who were like, "You know what? Go. I'm fine. Wear a mask." Although a mask is not going to help you.
Well, that's the problem is we don't know exactly how it propagates. So who knows?
They say it won't help you unless.
Yeah.
But most important thing, but real quick, I canceled the trip, and some of the airlines were easy to deal with, but some of them were not. So Delta Airlines, kudos. My buddy had a ticket on Delta. He called them up. He was flying New York to Amsterdam. They said no problem. He was even that leg of the trip wasn't even on Delta, and they're like no problem. They gave him full refund. I called American for my flight from Hong Kong to LA, and they're like, sorry, you can just delay it. First, they said for till the end of March, and now I just read, I think they changed it today to the end of the year, which that would have been fine. And then Finnair, who I had a ticket with, they said, sorry, 50% you're going to have to pay. So I'm still dealing with those guys. But Delta has been amazing. And Delta, I was not even on this trip, but you know what? They've done it many times before where they're willing to cancel just when my dad was in the hospital and my dad had a ticket. So I love Delta for that. But American... American's my choice of airline. I do not love them for their policies.
I'm liking Delta more and more, I have to say.
Well, I mean, they really, they have great policies in terms of
they're trying harder.
Don't get on a plane.
Yeah.
That's why so many people are sick because they can't afford to cancel it, or they don't. If you have a sick person, you should not want them on the plane and infect everyone and your employees.
We have that policy here at work. We say, don't come in sick. I know, I don't want to take a sick day or blah, blah, blah. But, it's one thing for you to be out for a day. It's another thing for the whole team to be out for a day or week. And it's a whole nother thing when Leo gets the flu. That is bad news.
I agreed. I mean, having you out would be terrible. But by the way, travel insurance is something to think about. Although Hong Kong's probably not covered, and Singapore is definitely not
because they're not banning flights yet.
Right.
If you're flying to Beijing, well, okay, or Wuhan, you'd be all right.
So when American told me they wouldn't cancel my flight, what I did, I was like, you know what? Well, don't cancel it. They said they weren't going to refund it. I said, well, don't cancel my flight. I'll wait. So I'll wait up to the last minute.
That's what you do for a refund.
If they're going to cancel it, and then you get a full refund.
Right.
If they cancel it.
And
you're all rolling the dice.
Told me if they change the time.
Yes, it depends on the airline, but usually if they delay the flight more than an hour or two, you can call them up, say, listen, I was going to miss my meeting or whatever, and they'll refund you. And I've done that many times.
Wow.
So always, but you got to monitor it, because a lot of times once that flight takes off and it's taken off and you don't let them know, that could be lost.
It is true that the fear of this virus is really accentuated because we travel. We're global. People are flying in and out of China all the time, all over the world. And so this stuff spreads a lot faster than it would have in horse and buggy era. So I understand prudence does seem sensible at this point till we know more. Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
well, stay healthy. You're going to stay home.
I'm staying home. Well, I think I'm going to go visit my dad now that I'm going to go pop in and see him.
Yeah. There you go.
Guy's 91 years old. I got to spend as much time as I can.
Yeah. Johnny Jet is at johnnyjet.com. That's his home on the web. Follow him on Twitter, too, at Johnny Jet, and on Instagram. And we will see you next week. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I mean, who wants to take a chance? It's really not so much people are overestimating novel coronavirus that they underestimate influenza.
Right.
Agreed. I mean, I have to, it's like pulling teeth to get people to take their flu shots.
If I didn't have two little kids, I wouldn't be having this conversation. I would be waiting up until the day before, and most likely going. I would have gone.
Yeah, because you're a strong, healthy young man.
Well, and I don't have a lot of risk. Although these days, if you come back, say I just got back from China, people take a step back.
Oh yeah.
Before they're like, cool, tell me about it. Now they're like, I want nothing to do with you. And it's not only just about the whole virus and stuff. I think they're also talking about even when you travel long distances. I think people now are with this whole Greta effect about.
Well, I buy carbon credits. We should talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I'll make a note.
It makes me feel good. I don't know how much, but there's two I use. I use the Good Traveler.
Okay.
thegoodtraveler.org. And you can buy carbon credits. You just put in your flight, and it'll tell you what the carbon impact is. It's actually really inexpensive. It's like 1% of the overall cost. And then for cruising, I bought something from TerraPass, TerraPass.com. The Good Traveler was a recommendation from the Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Sciences. So I figured they know what, because you got to be careful where you buy these. Make sure they're really.
Without a doubt. There's another one.
Legit.
I've used before, and I'll do a little bit more research.
I think that'd be a good topic for us to do at some point. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, line 1. Mike in Reno. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Leo. Mike Antonucci, former Mercury News, if you recall.
I do, and thank you for the email. I apologize for not getting get back to you, but I did note your email. It's great to talk to you. Mike is an old friend.
Well, the reason I called was because I heard you talking about how you just discovered an email from a friend from last May, so I figured the email might,
Exactly. I did get your email, though, Mike. And, the problem is, I don't know, do you do this? Because I get a lot of email. I see it. I read it. I make a note in my back of my brain. But then it gets, scrolled off the screen with all the other ones that come in. And, I always think, because I need the time to respond, especially to old friends like you.
I understand. I count myself a listener. I don't count myself
Thank you, Mike.
A transactional person with you.
Well, we got to make a deal then. Let's make a deal. We can make a deal. So what's up in Mike's world?
So did you absorb that you've been talking a lot about the cost or
yes.
not cost savings of cord cutting. Did you absorb the point I was making? Because what's happening in Reno is a lot of large apartment complexes are making deals with Spectrum, and it's under the heading of bulk cable.
Yeah.
And here's what happened with me. I ended up with essentially free cable TV. This is another aspect to the decline of eyeballs, right? Spectrum is so desperate to get eyeballs on the TV side.
Well, remember that there's still, even though the net was that you pay less, they're still making plenty of money. And in fact, it's interesting because this has been a bone of contention. And it happens in big cities. Reno is not quite a big city. It's the biggest little city in the world, but it's not quite a big city. But in San Francisco and many other cities, New York, what happens is companies, WebPass is a really good example, go to the condo building owner or the apartment building owner and make a deal for exclusive access to everybody in that building.
So that's not...
In this case, I gathered from your email, you don't have to subscribe to Spectrum. That's unusual.
Well, so you can probably... this is part of it, which I admit qualifies the deal. You may be invested in a lot of equipment and things that now is unnecessary or feels redundant. It's not a win-win, but for me, who was using little rabbit ears in the window and streaming Netflix, but paying over $80 a month for their high-speed internet, I'm now paying $30 less a month and getting the same high-speed internet and free cable.
And you get TV.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. So here's
a pretty good deal.
Here's what I would have written had I emailed you. Now I don't have to, which is great. Is watch out. Because next year they're going to raise that. And by the way, they've got you because they charge your rent. Right? You're not sending money to Spectrum. It's coming in. They raised your rent $50. And this is the
cutting my overall.
Yeah, of course.
Cost by 30
for now, but next year when it goes to 80, and the year after that when it goes to 100, and I predict that's what's going to happen. Spectrum is not in the charity business. So
I couldn't agree more.
So what they really want and what they got is the lock-in. They've got everybody in that building because who wouldn't say yes to that? And that's what Spectrum wanted.
Are you telling me that in 2 years I'll be back where I was?
Yes.
That's 2 years of breaks at $30 a month.
Yeah, you made you're homo economicus. I'm not insulting you. You're the economic man. You're making a rational decision. But this is the whole thing. I think cable companies are not stupid either. Right? And so one of the things you're leaving out of the equation is, well, what's in it for Spectrum?
Oh, I know what's in it for Spectrum, but I also know what's in it for me.
Yeah. So I think this is a good deal. They have calculated they're going to make it up over time. What they want and what WebPass and many other companies want. By the way, another good friend of mine, Om Malik, the journalist, has a apartment in San Francisco. He's got gigabit internet from WebPass. He's very, very happy with it. But he doesn't have a choice. So that's what's ultimately happening is they want to lock in everybody in that building, because from the point of view of Spectrum, that is it's easy to provide. There's one wire goes into the building. It's a very dense population center. If they can wire that and then the next one down the block and the next one down the block, they can charge you a little bit less because they're going to make it up. And eventually, I think over time they're going to raise rates. That's what historically cable companies have done, knowing that they were going to lose business to over the top. They've slowly raised rates in other areas, hoping to make the difference. I think, Mike, you made the right choice. I'm not questioning that at all.
You're making great points, and it's the reason I was hoping you'd go on the air with it. But
I'm glad you called. What?
I would rather negotiate. I would rather negotiate a complaint with my apartment complex than with Charter. As the rates go up.
Very good. Very, very good point, Mike. How's retirement? Are you writing? Are you doing anything?
I have been writing a variety of things just for enjoyment. I don't know. I'm still adjusting. to retirement, Leo. But I will. But I'll take just 20 more seconds to say something else to you. I'm a huge fan for all the consumer aid you give me. I'm a huge fan because of the personality of the dialogue on your show. But here's the thing: you just asked me what retirement is like from being a newspaper and a magazine reporter. Here's what I appreciate most about your show. It's the rigorous disclosure, not only about sponsors, but personal biases. You buy your own products. You absolutely bend over backwards in every conversation to point out if there's another point of view or a fairness element. You're as much a journalist as Tech Help, and I'm very appreciative.
I'm honored. Coming from you, Mike was, of course, by being the tech reporter at the Silicon Valley's main newspaper, the San Jose Mercury News, you were at the epicenter of the revolution for many years. And I read you religiously, so I thank you. Those are very appreciated words.
And a longtime sports writer who did 6 Super Bowls, but that's another call.
Oh, yeah. You have a dog in this hunt now? That's the Santa Clara 49ers, right?
It's a Santa Clara 40. My thing is special players, and I think Mahomes is special.
Yeah, he's very special. I wish we could say our guy was special. He's okay. But, talent is an interesting issue, not just in sports, but in life. It comes up all the time in tech companies. Steve Jobs used to say you only want A players because you start hiring B players, they bring your A players down, and pretty soon you got C players. And I think that's true in sports as well. Really talented athletes, really talented coders, really talented writers are a rare commodity and something to definitely be cherished and celebrated and rewarded. Of course, everybody in the NFL gets rewarded these days. I don't think there's any question.
Yes, they do.
But it is, I have to say, especially at the beginning of the season, I'm watching Mahomes. He looks like he's 12 years old. And I'm thinking, that guy, he just got out of high school. Look at him. He's barely got peach fuzz. And he has shown himself to be an amazing quarterback. So I'm with you, Mike. I think he's going to be the guy we have to be.
And seems to have a character as a human being, which is really redeeming these days.
You know, I want to hate the Seahawks, but it's hard not to admire people like Russell Wilson when they have such class.
Exactly.
You really go, well, okay. All right, I guess I have to be classy too. Go Niners! Beat that Mahomes. Beat him into the ground.
I've taken up enough of your time.
Great to talk to you, Mike.
It's gratifying to know you actually saw the email.
Not only I saw it, I absorbed the lesson, and I was meaning to talk to you. And I'm glad you called because I think that's really a hot topic right now is these monopolies these companies are getting in these big apartment buildings where they're just taking over. Thank you for the very kind words, Mike. We miss you at the Mercury News. It was nice to talk to you, Mike. Thank you you saved me having to write an email.
Leo, you're invaluable to me. If we had a really long conversation, you know what retirement means? Coping with a lot of things without the access, the special privileged access.
Yes.
To people as a journalist.
You get spoiled, don't you? Yes.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, see, I don't have that access. No, the funny thing is because I refuse to talk to PR companies, I've never cultivated any of these companies. So people often say, hey, can you help me? I need help with Google or Apple or whatever. And I go, I can't. I'm just some guy to them. They don't have any. They don't do me any favors. So,
Leo, I listen so closely to not only this
show,
but multiple shows of yours. I'm a one-man focus group.
Oh, if you ever need it. Mike, anytime you have thoughts, please. I promise. I do read your email. I will respond to you eventually. But I do read it.
I'm sorry I missed you on your trip to Reno.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. We took the train up. It was really cool. When Lisa and I get out of town, we usually just want to kind of hunker down. But next time we're up there, and I think we will go up there again because we really had fun, I will definitely contact you because I'd love to see you.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for everything you do, Leo.
My pleasure. Thanks for being such a supportive listener. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Be safe.
See ya. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, hour number 3 of the Tech Guy program, in which we talk about all sorts of things having to do with technology. Used to be just a computer talk show, right? back in the early 90s. You'd call in and ask me about your Windows 3.1.1. And I'd happily answer. Well, you got an IRQ conflict there. We need to set your interrupt on serial port 1 to be different from the serial port 2. And then I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. In fact, in the early days, I spent a lot of time helping people get their internet service providers, online service to get to the internet. There were all sorts of tricks you could use to get in. Well, the internet in the 90s, ooh, that was big. Early 90s, ooh, that was big. Yeah, Mike B's reminded me of a classic error message from Windows 3.1. Dr. Watson has caused an error in drwatson.exe. Oh, I remember those. Nonstop. Nonstop. So now what we do, we don't talk about computers that much anymore. It isn't really a computer show, is it? In fact, it's a show about life because we talk about privacy, we talk about, TV, football, because it's all technology now. What's happened gradually, imperceptibly, over time, is it's gone from being the computer that you went out and bought at great expense that you put on your desk. Oh, I got a computer. I got CompuServe and a computer. I'm online, man. Imperceptibly, it's moved, they call it now computing at the edge. Instead of a centralized system, you've got lots of technology, lots of computers. If you call it a computer, if it's got a processor, memory, and a program that it runs, that's a computer. Well, then your Echo's a computer, your phone's a computer, your smart doorbell's a computer, your toaster oven's a computer, your microwave oven's a computer, refrigerator's a computer. It's all computers. Your washing machine, if you can connect your phone to it, it's a computer. So we got computers moving to the edge. That works because we can have centralized systems. This is where the cloud is important, where your data might be stored, information might be stored, and they can all connect to that cloud over the internet. So you have this new kind of way of computing. Sometimes people say, well, that's like the old way where you had one big computer in the basement at the university, and then there were terminals all over the town. Sort of. In that case, the computer power was centralized in the middle, and the devices on the edge were dumb. Now they're smart devices. They're smart enough to do what they need to do. That's all become possible because chips and the circuitry and all this stuff that we use has gotten cheaper and cheaper. You could thank the iPhone for that. Mass production in China made it so cheap to do all of these little sensors, cameras, processors. They've gotten so inexpensive that we could put them everywhere. You can have processors everywhere. And that's why people are starting to worry about privacy, because now you're being watched. Your TV watches you. Does your TV have a camera? Does your TV connect to the internet? Most modern TVs, at the very least, send back information about what you're watching. And in some cases, I'm sure of this. I feel like this, if they're not doing this, they're missing a great opportunity. That camera, maybe, that could be are they watching or they go get a sandwich? Advertisers want that. It drives advertisers crazy. They say, well, I know I bought the ad on the Super Bowl, but was anybody there to watch it? I only want to pay for people who stayed in front of the TV and watched the ad. Why do you think they make the ad so good? They got to keep you. But he went up and got a sandwich. He's not watching. I paid millions of dollars for that ad. I want you to watch it. And, of course, they put pressure on the networks. I don't want to pay for anybody who didn't watch it. I only want to pay for people who watched it. So that's pressure from the advertisers is why your TV spies on you now. And not just your TV. As long as I'm going to put a computer in your light bulb. Actually, the great example is this Ring video doorbell. As long as I'm going to put a computer in your doorbell, I might as well use it to see when you come and go. See who's walking by on the street. So this is the environment we live in. Computing is everywhere. We don't have a computer per se. I mean, we do. We might have many, but it isn't necessarily a Bondi Blue iMac sitting on your desk. It's all over. And it's going to get more like that, by the way. Because processors, memory, cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. It's going to get more. There's going to be more stuff all around you. Pretty soon my microphone will be computer. You know, Leo talked about Spectrum for 32 seconds. Actually, I know this happens. They call them clipping services. If I mention a product, most companies nowadays subscribe to clipping services. I feel bad for you. I know, I know there's somebody listening right now who works for a clipping service. There's probably 20 or 30 people work for clipping services. And they listen to every word I say and everybody else says, and then when Sony wants to know, hey, did we get mentioned on radio and TV this week in the newspapers, in the magazines? Who mentioned us? What'd they say? They get a report every Monday. Here's all the mentions. It's all digitized now. It's all computerized. And I know that because if I mention a product, I know they're not listening. They don't have to. They got people to do that. If I mention a product, I will get an email. You know, Leo. And this explains, Mike, why I do not read my email. Edward in Detroit, Michigan. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Edward.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine. Can you hear me well?
I hear you great. What can I do for you today?
All right. I was wondering, are there any music websites that are free or relatively inexpensive?
That's an interesting question. What do you want to? Yes, of course. Well, first of all, the answer is yes. Spotify is free. Pandora is free. They have free tiers that have ads in them. So, what do you want? What are you looking for? A particular artist? You're looking for a streaming radio station? What are you looking for?
Something like Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music has a free tier. It's their Beats One radio, so you don't get to choose what you're listening to. I think probably most people, college students and others who just don't want to spend money to listen to music, use Spotify. You can put an app on your phone, your computer. You can even go to the Spotify website, spotify.com. And you do have to create an account, but there is a free tier, and you can listen to music. You could choose artists. There are a few restrictions. There are a few limitations on Spotify free. You can't skip as many times. You can skip, but just not as many times. I think there's a limitation to skipping a certain number of times an hour. But otherwise, it's free. Yeah, I would recommend that. There's also radio stations. Don't forget, the radio station you're listening to is a great source of free music. Radio.com is CBS's, or formerly CBS's, Entercom's app. There's my company, iHeartRadio, has a wonderful iHeart app. These are all free. In fact, I should really start with iHeart since they pay my salary. They have a great app that you could put on your phone and listen to music, streaming music. And the way all of those pay for them, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, all the rest, is with advertising, just like this radio show. So perfectly legitimate way. They have iHeart has artist radio. You can pick the artists you want. They have a lot of podcasts. Really, we live in a wonderful time, a wonderful era for audio content. There's a ton of it free.
All right.
Do you have a smartphone? Or
yes, I do.
There you go. Put the Spotify app or the iHeart app or both, or Pandora app. It just depends if you want what you want. Pandora is really more like a radio station where you say, well, I like these three artists, and then it'll make a radio station based on those artists for you. Spotify lets you say, I want to listen to this album. And not every album. Taylor Swift very famously says, I'm not going to put my stuff on, my albums on free. I'm worth something. I'm going to charge. So she doesn't like that. And actually, this is, from artists' point of view, this is one of the sad things about the way it's turned out. They used to let radio play it basically for free. They paid a small amount. It was very inexpensive. Artists never made a lot of money on radio, but they wanted to get on the radio because you would hear a song on the radio, you go, I love that song, and you'd go out and you'd buy it. Man, I love that My Girl, that Temptation song. I want that song. And you go out and you'd buy the single, or maybe you'd even buy the whole album. So artists said, well, we're not going to make a lot of money on radio, but at least, yeah, they do. They make money, but at least, what we're going to get is promotion. Unfortunately now, they make very little per play on Spotify and Pandora and these other systems, and it bugs them. I was just, what was it? Was it Lil Nas X? I was just reading somebody tens of thousands of plays, hundreds of thousands, millions of plays on Spotify. He made $1.50. I mean, it's just not money. It's not good money. So I still think we should support music and support artists by, buying music. You don't have to buy a physical CD or record. You can just pay 99 cents on Apple, or maybe buy the Spotify if you can afford it. Buy Spotify paid. They get a little bit more money for that. But the good news is, just as it's always been with free radio, there's plenty of free ways to listen. Lots of them. We'll put a link. Mike B has put something up in our chat room. The 10 best free music websites to download songs legally. There's lots of illegal free music. Let's do it legally. We'll put a link. Thank you, Mike B, in the show notes to that article. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, somebody's mentioned an Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime account, they have unlimited music. In fact, if you buy an Echo, they have that you get music, a certain amount of music, like 1 million songs for free. There's a lot of free music, isn't it? Isn't it? Aren't there? The finest bumper music around, says Shortwave in our chat room. Thanks to Lady Laura. Thank you, Lady Laura. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, line 4. Glenn in Largo, Florida. Hello, Glenn.
Hi, thank you, Leo, for taking my call.
Thanks
I have a question about a product called Extra-PC. It's a 32 gigabyte thumb drive, so my Windows PC laptop can boot up in Linux OS.
Oh, that's a neat idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is it?
About it, Leo.
No, I haven't.
It's $40. It's $40 for the first one and $20 for the second one if you get two of them, and it's for a 64-bit laptop, so that works out for me. And I was interested in it, and I wanted to know your thoughts because in Linux, can I still see my 2016 MS Office?
No. Well, yes and no. So, yeah, this is a good idea, and I'm glad they don't charge much for it because you could easily do this yourself. Linux is free, but you'd have to have some technical skills. You'd have to download Linux and put it on a USB key. It's not that hard. I do it all the time. But, yeah, okay. And, a 16 gig USB key is $5 or $6. So they're not making a ton of money. They're maybe making $15, $20 on it. You could easily do this yourself. You'd have a little more flexibility if you did, but my hope is that they've solved some of the issues that Windows users are going to run up against doing this. And I presume they have, or they wouldn't have a product. So the idea here is you're going to boot, instead of booting to your internal hard drive, you're going to boot to the USB key, which has an operating system on it, a free operating system called Linux. Any Linux distro will let you do this. They all do it. It's called a live distro. It used to be you'd put it on a CD. Now you just put it on a USB key. They all do that. So you could go right now to, my favorite is Pop! OS, system76.com, and download Pop! OS. There's instructions on there. Put it on a USB key. Then reboot your computer. You'd have to tell your computer to boot to the USB key. You'll have to do this with Extra PC too. And then it will boot up from the USB drive. At that point, you're running an operating system. Now, one thing they misstate a little bit, unless your computer's really old, a USB key is going to be considerably slower than your internal disk. So they say your slow old Windows isn't nearly as fast as Linux. Well, it might be they have a fast Linux on there, but it's still loading off of a fairly slow storage medium, that USB key. So this blazing fast high performance they're talking about, it's running off a USB key. So that's going to be a little bit slower. It also is going to wear out a little bit faster. A hard drive, internal hard drive. In fact, in most Linuxes, the reason they give you this USB key is so you can try it. See if it works, everything works, your mouse works, your keyboard, your monitor, your thumbprint reader, whatever it is that you want to use. See if it all works. And if it does, then they almost always have a program running on that USB key that says, now install it onto my internal hard drive. Because most of the time, that's how you want to run it. But for security reasons, you might want to run it on a USB key because you can unplug it then and use Windows day to day and use the USB key just for banking, that kind of stuff?
Well, if I boot up into the Linux with the USB key, will I still see my Windows desktop?
So you will not. You will not. You can't run Windows programs very well. You can run a few of them. Typically, and it again depends on how they've configured this. I'm going to assume they've configured it so they can at least see the internal drive, which means they'd see your Microsoft Office documents. If you open them, you won't be opening them in Microsoft Office. You'll be running them on probably LibreOffice, which is an open source version of Office that's free.
Yeah,
and it's fine. You'll be completely comfortable with it. It just won't be the paid version of Microsoft Office. You can, in some cases, it's technically complicated, and I doubt they've done this. There's a program that you can run in Linux called Wine, which will let you run a limited set of Windows applications under Linux. Generally, there are technical challenges to do this. Not all programs run. Some programs run well, some run but not very well, et cetera, et cetera. If you really like this idea, it might be worth checking it out to see if you can do it yourself. Because that would be, I bet you have an old USB key lying around.
Yes.
And you can go to system76.com, download Pop! OS, and it'll have instructions on the site for how you make a bootable USB Linux key out of that. And at that point, you've spent zero. You'll reboot your machine. You're going to have the same issues, and they talk about it on the Extra PC site about putting it in legacy mode and all this. You have to turn off UEFI, you have to turn off secure boot. So there's some
computer is turned off.
Yeah, there's some settings you have to go through to boot to a Linux disk of any kind, whether it's Extra PCs or not. I think this is, given that they're not overcharging for it, it's completely reasonable. But you can totally do this yourself as well with any Linux distro. So if you just want to see, well, how's it going to be, that might be the way to do it. They do offer free returns, so that might be a solution too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, and how old is the PC you want to boot onto?
It's about 4 years old. It's an Asus 64-bit laptop.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Anything past Windows 7, they said, is fine with this, and I have 8.1.
They're mostly concerned about RAM. Almost all process, you can't, unless your computer is 15 years old, you got a 64-bit processor. That's not the issue. They say that because it kind of helps them guarantee it's a more modern computer. Mm-hmm. If you're going to use it, are you going to do it for security or just to see how Linux runs? Or
I want to see the speed of it. I have another a box over here, an older one, maybe a 4 or 5 year old computer desktop that runs even Windows 7 on it, and it's so slow for her, and she can't browse fast or anything like that. So I thought, well, maybe the Linux would work. The only thing is, it'll probably work for Internet Explorer, I guess, and Google, browsers. But will she be able to find the Office, Word documents and stuff like that on her computer?
She'll be able to find them, but she won't. So it'll be a little disconcerting because the programs she's used to using won't run. Windows programs essentially need Windows to run. As I said, there's a little exception with Wine, but it's not a great experience. I don't generally recommend that. On the other hand, if people just kind of think, I'm not using Windows, I'm just going to use Linux, LibreOffice, the office that comes with all versions of Linux, is really good. It has all the same tools, and it's free. Mm-hmm. Speed is an interesting issue. I mean, there's lots of reasons why a computer gets slow. Most of them have nothing to do with whether you're using Linux or Windows. It's often just the hard drive's wearing out and is less reliable or things like that. So if a computer's really slow, it may not fix it. Linux isn't vastly faster than Windows. Or let me put it this way. Linux is not vastly faster than a fresh install of Windows. Sometimes what is slowing a computer down is just there's a lot of junk on that thing over the years that you've got running in the background. And if you did a fresh install of Windows, it would run faster. So that might be the first thing to do. If she's very comfortable with Windows, is you could actually upgrade that Windows 7 machine to Windows 10 for free. And then once you've done that and it's activated, you can wipe the drive, install Windows 10 fresh. It'll be the similar process. You need a USB key and all that. And it will almost certainly run a lot faster just because it's fresh, a fresh install.
Yeah. I don't know if it has enough RAM for a Windows 10 compared to a Windows 7 that she has.
How much RAM does it have? If it's 2 gigs, probably not. If it's 4 gigs, that's fine. 2 is probably too scant.
Yeah, I think she might have one.
Extra PC's fine. It looks like they've solved a lot of the, at least they've made it for you, which is, for a lot of people, that's the stopping point. But you're going to get it, and you're going to see, I bet you the reason they have a strong returns policy is there's going to be 10, 15% of people who get it. It just doesn't run right. But they're smart. What they've done is they've said, hey, we could do this for people as if, $35, big deal. As a service, you could do it for yourself pretty quickly too. It's not a hard thing to do. If you feel fairly technical, it's not a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I may take it into iBreak UFix and see if my older computer is capable of running 10 with the RAM that it has in it.
Yeah, there you go. And there's probably a geek in there who can install Linux on it for you. It will. Ooh. This is the one thing they say that is not strictly true. It does not run faster off a USB key. Your hard drive's almost certainly faster.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much, Leo.
My pleasure. Thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. On we go with the show to Mike in Riverside, California. Hello, Mike. Thanks for hanging on. Boop. Okie dokie. Let's go to line 3. And say hi to Rich in Poway, California. Hello, Rich.
Hey, Leo, you are the greatest. I want to thank you for taking my call again.
My pleasure.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes,
you
sir.
ready?
Yes, sir.
My wife and I are going insane when we're watching TV, whether we've recorded a show or not. The the volume is always drastically louder than the broadcast.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
It drives me crazy. Is there a sound bar or a sound system that would equalize this volume like they do? My car does it.
What does it? Your car? Oh, yeah, your car does do it because of road noise, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the car can automatically up and down?
Yes.
There are rules. The FCC has rules that say commercials have to have the same average volume as the programs they're running in. So some of the loudness, I think, is apparent loudness. Just like, sometimes, remember in the old days of AM radio, the boss jock, listen to the boss sounds, the boss hits, and it would pound out of the radio at you because they were doing something called compression, dynamic range compression, that made it sound louder even though it wasn't. It's my guess that that's what commercials are doing. If that's what they're doing, then no volume control is going to fix it. Because it's not that it's louder, but there is a way to handle this. I certainly on my receiver have this. A lot of AV receivers have a setting, and your TV may also have a setting to average out the sound levels, to actually adjust that. And it's just exactly the same thing that's in your car. Technically, I think the sound level is not supposed to be louder. The FCC would jump on them for that, but everybody who watches TV knows that they seem louder. In fact, if you watch a football game, it's like a war broke out when the commercial comes on. It's like, oh, whoa, hold on. It's so loud, and I honestly think it's a perception thing rather than if you looked at the meters, it'd be the same. Otherwise, they'd get in trouble with the FCC. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I often mute commercials for that very reason. They drive me nuts.
We do also.
Yeah.
And that's why I love recording, because we fast forward the commercials.
Yeah. Boy, our advertisers are going crazy right now. We do not turn up our ads on this station. I would check in your TV. There may be a loudness adjustment. I know many TVs, I've seen TVs that do that. Otherwise, yeah, you'd have to go through a sound bar that would have that feature, or an AV receiver that would have that feature. And I can't promise you would fix it because It's not that it's actually louder. It's just perceived as louder because of compression. That's my opinion anyway. They have to adhere to FCC rules. So, that they can't just say, oh, hey, Joe, are we in the ad yet? Turn it up. They can't do that.
Okay.
Sorry, I wish there were a better answer for you. Maybe somebody listening knows. Check your TV to see if there's a setting in there. And as I said, you know what I'd love to find, and maybe somebody in the chat room or somebody listening, if you have a soundbar that specifically has that feature in the setup. That would really be a great feature. Somebody in the chat room saying, my TV used to have that auto level feature. I'll put in the show notes the link that Keith has put in our chat room to the FCC page, Loud Commercials on TV. Do television commercials sometimes seem louder than the shows they accompany? TV stations are prohibited from boosting this is the key, the average volume of commercials to levels beyond the program they accompanied. But if you ever look at a meter, there's peaks and valleys, right? The rules for loud TV commercials are based on the CALM Act, Commercial Advertisement Loudness Mitigation. Congress actually made a law. There ought to be a law. You can file a complaint, and people would get in trouble for it. But my guess is that stations aren't doing that because, well, if they did, the FCC would hammer them. They do. The FCC does right. Many televisions and home theater systems have features to control loudness, such as, sometimes they're labeled, automatic gain control, audio compression, or audio limiters that can be turned on to provide a more consistent volume level. These functions usually need to be activated through the equipment's setup audio menu. So the FCC is agreeing with what I just said. Somebody in the chat room saying, Congress got snookered by the lobbyists who wrote that law. Yeah, I think the average is the weasel word. But what else are they going to do? What you should say is the peak sound cannot exceed a certain level. That would solve it. The average is kind of a weaselly way to get out of it. Ralph, Central Pennsylvania. Hello, Ralph. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Hey, my question is, I got an HP Draft Pro pen plotter.
Nice. Are you an architect or?
I do use graphics programs,
nice.
And I'm into like AutoCAD, whatever.
Automated design. I always wanted a pen plotter. These are printers that work with pens, just like you're drawing it, but they have little servo motors that move the pens, and they're very fast. It's a really cool idea. So, are you having a problem with your?
Well, it's an old one. It's a Draft Pro, HP Draft Pro.
Yeah, these.
Model 76.
To give you an idea, these use an RS-232 serial interface to your computer. So
yeah,
so you're not going to be able to use it with any modern computer without an adapter.
Yes, that was going to be my question.
Oh, okay. Well, they have to be. This reminds me of the old days. I was talking earlier about the old days. We talk about IRQ ports. You got to have a 9600 baud one-stop bit with no parity on this thing. So very important that you set that properly. There are a number of companies that make USB, which you do have, to serial adapters. And you're going to need... So you got the printer, but you've never used it?
I had it on an old HP computer, which died.
Yeah. So you don't have a serial port. Yeah.
No.
So what you need is a USB to serial adapter. They're not expensive.
Okay.
I would go to Monoprice. Walmart sells them. They can get them on Amazon as well. And then the trick is going to be that you might need some software to configure that sucker so that it gives the printer the right... It might just work out of the box. I'm looking at the printer's specs, and it's like I said, 9600 baud, one-stop bit, no parity. Remember the old days where you have to set that?
Yeah.
Well, you still do. I have a feeling that there is probably help out there because these are very expensive devices, and the people who own them want to keep them running, and I don't blame them. So I would probably do some searching around for very specifically somebody with an HP Draft Pro printer connected to USB and see what they had to do. Somebody will have made a video or a YouTube video or a blog post or somewhere there'll be some more information about this. Because you got to get just the right driver. I mean, this is going to be tricky. Not saying it's impossible. Might work right out of the box. Might not. The driver is going to be the tricky thing, isn't it? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Woo! Everybody, dance along with Dickie D, Mad Magazine's maddest writer, and the Gizwiz. Hello, Dickie D.
Hey, how you doing?
We play disco. It's an inside joke. Lady Laura plays the disco for Dick DeBartolo because he is a disco fool. He even had a houseboat that was a disco. It had a ball, one of those mirror balls. It had a lit up floor. You probably had a fog machine and everything else in there.
Oh, well, here, I mean, a lot of it ended up at Disneyland.
So you still do it?
Oh, yeah, I have a disco ball. I have a floor light projector.
You got it all, man. You got
it all. Oh, and you know what I also want to mention? You were talking earlier. We did this a long time ago on the show. There's a thing called the smash mute button.
Everybody should have this.
It is a giant. It's like 2 inches in diameter. And you program it once. You just aim it at your TV, at your TV remote. You hit the volume, the mute button. Yeah. This learns it. And then when those commercials go on, you don't have to look for your remote. You just lean over.
Mutes it.
You just hit this thing hard.
Lisa, it's great. My wife, who also does the ad sales, she runs the podcast network, on principle, watches every ad. She won't use an ad blocker in her browser.
Oh, my
She says, we're an ad-supported network. I am not going to mute those ads. I'm going to watch every one of them.
Okay.
I admire her for that.
Yeah.
I just put my fingers in my ears and go,
I said, is Lisa coming? Is Lisa coming today? And Leo said, no, she's home watching ads. That's dedication.
She cares.
She cares.
She cares. She said, look, ads pay for our lifestyle. Ads pay for the studio. Ads give everybody here their rent and their food. We can't be blocking the ads.
All right. Well, that's that's another view.
Not widely shared.
Not widely.
But I am sympathetic. Anyway, it's called, what is it? Smash Mute.
The Smash Mute TV mute button.
And I guess or go to gizwiz.biz and look through actually, this is a lot of fun. If there's a big button on the right that says the Gizwiz visits the tech guy, and if you click that, you can look through all of the things that Dick DeBartolo has over the years brought us. Foisted upon us. So you can see all the gadgets, including this week's gadget. What is this week's?
This week it's kind of interesting. I went to the Inspired Home preview. So, in March in Chicago, there's a big home houseware show. And fortunately, they do a little New York preview. So I went and I was walking by this table and this woman said, aren't you going to stop? I have this reinvented butter dish. And I said,
oh, yeah, man, I can't miss that. Whoa.
I know. I said, no, I'm really looking for tech. She said, oh, wait a minute. She said, I'm not showing this because it's not coming till the summer. But if you want tech, I'll show it to you.
Wait a minute. What about the reinvented butter dish?
What's the reinvented butter dish? It's a butter dish with the top attached. So you're not supposed to put it in the refrigerator. You keep the quarter pound of butter on the table, and this little lid just opens up so you can get the butter. It didn't, I said it. I need techie. She said,
that's not
all
techie.
right. Yeah, take this light bulb and throw it on the floor.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
I threw it on the floor and it bounced back up again.
Oh, it's a rubber light bulb.
Now crush it in your hand. So I crushed it, and she said, just let it go, and it slowly comes back. So she has the world's first LED 60 and 40 watt unbreakable bulb.
It's called the incredi-bulb.
Incredi-bulb. Well, I said, well, what's this going to cost? She said, well, like $6 or $7. And that reminded me, Leo, I went back through our Daily Gizwitz podcasts. You, in March of 2009, told me and probably everybody in the world.
10 years ago. Almost
10
11.
years ago.
Yeah.
The C-Cran Geo Bulb.
Yes.
The world's first 60-watt bulb.
LED light bulb.
Yes. That used 8 watts.
Yep.
And then you said, Dick, it is a little on the pricey side.
One bulb.
So I went back and found their press release. One bulb is $119.95.
Granted, it was a lot to spend.
Yes.
I remember Bob Crane actually showing me this and saying, this is going to transform lighting. Now, again, this is 2009. We were just starting to use compact fluorescence, right?
Yes.
Incandescent was everywhere. He said LED, but it's expensive to make right now. It's $120. Nevertheless, even then, I thought, boy, because it lasts forever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are LED bulbs now? They're nothing.
Leo, yesterday I went to the Bargain Junkie and I bought a bunch of these 4 soft white GE LED dimmable bulbs, 4-pack, $4.99.
Wow, $1.25 each.
$1.25 each.
That going from $120 to $1.25 in 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
It really makes a big difference. But that's mass production.
Yeah. And that's everybody saying, "Oh my gosh, these are incredible! Now I'm going to buy them."
You know, it's fun. And by the way, C-Cranes have dropped in price too. They don't charge $120.
No.
But that's what happens in technology. The first one, in fact, we were talking about the micro LED TV, and it's $1 million. But that's the first one. And as they get better and better at producing them, prices drop by a factor of 100. So it'll only be $100,000. So that's a great deal. No, that's 10. It'll be but that's a big difference.
No, it's absolutely. I remember
the only thing weird about using LED bulbs now, and I bet you have the same reaction. I go around the house, I replace the old bulb. Usually it's a compact fluorescent with an LED, and I always say this to Lisa. Lisa, I'll be dead before you have to replace this bulb.
Oh, I've never said that in my house because Lisa's not here.
You say, Dennis, but do you ever think that these bulbs are going to last decades?
Well, yes, it's very interesting because
I won't have to climb up on this ladder again. Ever. I'll be dead when I do.
And now someone has to carry you up.
Carry me up.
and you're still not going to be able to turn the bulb. No, it's really amazing. I thought you were going to say, does this happen to you? I'm leaving the studio and I turn around and I go, gosh, there's an awful lot of lights on. And I go, oh, what is that going to be? 10 cents by the time I come back?
It's LED. It's LED. Because it's true. You're saving power. It's better for the environment. And what are these incredi-bulbs? What's the life on these incredi-bulbs? It's like 100,000 hours or something. Yeah,
exactly. And now she told me that she had just come back a month ago from, I think, China, where she had secured the exclusive rights to distribute them in the U.S. They're called the incredi-bulb. She showed me a box. She said the box could look like this.
Is it rubber? Why does it bounce?
You know what? It's funny, Leo. I don't even know, but I put a little video up there of her throwing it on the floor. It's some sort of rubberish kind of thing that
I guess it doesn't matter because you don't need glass, right?
No, you don't.
Oh,
and
look.
You can just crinkle it up. You can just crinkle it up in your hand.
It's just like a little rubber dome.
Yeah. You know, before they go on sale, the thing would be to buy the first one and say to someone, I'll bet you $5 I can crush this bulb in my hand and when I release my
That's
hand,
hysterical.
it's back to normal.
Now, I do have to say that I have had LED bulbs die on me, and that's depressing because I feel like, well, I should be dead by now. So there is that. They don't last forever. Incredible.
They don't last forever, but it has they have a long
time. 20 to 50,000 hours, about 17 years in normal use. Dick DeBartolo, Mads Magazine's maddest writer, gizwiz.biz for more information about the incredi-bulb. Thank you, Dickie D.
Thank you, buddy. See you next week.
Thank you, Lady Laura, for the great music. Thank you, Kim Schaffer, for answering the phones. Thanks to you for listening. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.